Hey guys, some of you have asked me how do you improve on print quality? If you want to improve print quality, you just have to start with the basics. Some things that beginners may overlook because it's quite simple is that you got to start with a very good first layer. This really doesn't cost you any extra. It just takes a little bit of your time to get things right, your settings correct, in order to get that good quality print. And many of you beginners may not even know what a good first layer is. So what I did was basically print some first layers so you guys can get a kind of like an idea of what a good first layer is supposed to look like. And I'm going to go through these and show you the different settings and what you're really supposed to look for in a first layer. However, because you may be thinking that my bed is a little different than yours, because I upgraded my bed to the Wham Bam PEX system, I'm just going to show you some of my older prints that was printed on the original BuildTak system. So you can kind of get an idea, but what you're looking for is very much same or similar. This is from the Air One, one of their copper PLA. I'm going to tell you don't get the copper PLA from Air One, but this is not perfectly binded together. You can see the strings because I've been playing around with it and I kind of pulled them apart. And that's the only reason why it looks like that. But initially when I started off, it was a very good first layer. Now here, it's a little difficult to show on camera, so I have to put it in different angles so you can see. But I really want to show you the detail. But quite possibly my camera won't pick it up. Now many people have said that you should use glue stick to your bed if it's not adhering to it. However, for me, I think you should use it only absolutely if you have to. Like this right here, I did it on the end just to test it. This right here is because of the glue. This is actually leftover, like the white spots you see are leftover glue from the glue stick that I used on the original Creality bed. Now I have used the glue stick before, and initially I was very impressed with the glue stick. Initially when you start off, you're going to get that very good, even, smooth, very thin, light layer across. You are going to get very good results. However, later on down the line, you're going to have problems. And the reason why I say that is because what's going to happen is that it's going to build up on the surface of the bed. You're going to get much more uneven layers of glue across the bed. So when the dust settles, your plastic is not going to be adhering to the glue. Is going to be adhering to the dust of the glue unless you clean the glue off the surface of your bed. So you're not going to be removing all the glue from the bed unless you use like harsh substances, or use your spatula in like a harsh manner and just try to get it all off. That's why I say in the long run it's a little bit difficult to clean. You won't be getting the same quality as you did in the beginning. This may work differently for like glass bed, but on the BuildTak surface, I find that if I put glue and try to clean it up, I won't be getting rid of all the glue on the surface. Maybe I have to use some type of solvent. Again, you may be roughening up the surface of your bed. And if you're printing something small that has a small surface area, then you're going to be able to pop off your print very easily. However, if you're using a very large surface area, what's going to happen is that print is going to stick to the bed so well that you're going to have to get like that spatula that you use. You're going to have to, just put all your muscle into it and try to pry it off. You're going to quite possibly damage your print or possibly even your bed. That's why I don't use a glue stick anymore or recommend it. Now here's another one. This was printed on a 0.4 millimeter nozzle, and the bottom of the surface is like pristine, almost pristine. You see this mark here over here, but that's like a marker, just discoloration from a marker. But again, is very pristine. And again, this was printed on the build tack surface and not the PEX surface. And again, this was printed on the build tack surface. There is a little bit of a mark over here. And here's like another one, because this is based on a cheaper filament, but still, as you can see, it looks pretty nice. And kind of the same thing here. It's pretty nice, except that again, there's some glue. But as far as the surface, came out extremely nice. Anyway, I have more, but this is not a demo of me showing you all the different prints I have. This is more of a tutorial of what a very good first layer should look like and how to get a very good first layer. So let me just switch cameras and get started. But before we go on any further, I'd appreciate it if you could hit the like and subscribe button. These videos take a long time and quite a bit of effort to do, so if you could hit the like and subscribe button and share it if you could, thanks. And this is isopropyl alcohol. You know, you don't have to put a lot, just put a little, and then just wipe down your bed of any debris or dust that may have landed on the bed before use. I'm gonna put some time-lapse footage, so you can go ahead and look at the timeline below and skip ahead to wherever you need to. Now I started off on a Z offset of 0.30, and I'm going to increment down by 0.01. It's going to go down all the way to 0.00. Then I'm going to go back up in increments of 0.10, all the way up to 0.6, and then I'm just going to ramp it up all the way up. And then you're going to be able to see the different layers that goes on to the bed. Look to the lower left so you can get an indication of where the layer height is at. Now this part is going to seem very tedious and boring, but I left it in there so you guys can take a look and see how the deformations form. So go ahead and look in the description below for the timeline and skip to the summary if you find this too slow. Now, once the nozzle gets too close to the bed, one of the things that happen is this side bulge or ridging on the side. I think that happens because when the nozzle is too close to the bed, it creates a lot of back pressure, and the back pressure causes it to release the filament at one time. When it releases it, it has no place to go except to the side, because on one side there's going to be a wall, and the place of least resistance is the opposite side of the wall. 0.5. 1.4. So 1.8. This is 2.6. Now I'm ramping it up because I want to get the plastic off the surface of the bed and start over. So if this was the filament, just because the strand bonded does not mean that it's adhering to the bed. As you can see, if there's a gap like this, as you go higher and higher, there may be a bigger gap. It may be bonding to the filament itself. So it may be bonding to the side of the filament that you already laid down already. And that's why there may be no adhesion to the bed itself. That's why I'm increasing the height slowly, so you can see that it looks very good in on top surface, but you'll know when the print actually falls off the bed. The hotter the filament is and the hotter the bed is, it's going to solidify much slowly, and so it's going to have a flatter bottom. Now I'm going to give you a couple of visualizations from my printer. This is probably not going to be 100% accurate. What I mean by 100% accurate, I mean like there's a margin for error. That margin is going to be small, but it's still going to be there. So for my first print, I did not do any of the auto level or re-level my bed. This is a visualization of after I printed the print, then I did the auto bed level to take a look at the state of my bed. So that was number one. So this is after A. This was a little scuffing from the actual build plate itself. And if you look at the back, the little mark that goes right there, that's from the build plate itself. It has a little bit of damage on it, and that's the reason for that. You'll see in the video of the time lapse here it was at 0.00. See, the wham bam actually has some damage on the bed right here. Then I actually made some minor adjustments and re-leveled the bed, did the auto leveling, and then I did the print B. B. This was a test that was done with the auto leveling on, and again you have a little bit of damage on the build plate. That's why you have the little dentations, and right here I can feel it that it has a rough surface. But as far as the back, it feels very pristine and clean. Even with the damage right here, if you can see right there, there's damage. It's almost as if you can't feel it. Now for C, I did the auto leveling before I printed and after I printed. And you're going to see there are slight discrepancies in the before and after. Maybe because due to vibration, the calibration went off a little bit. Even for this small little layer, there is discrepancies in it. That's why I say it's not going to be 100% accurate, or there is like a margin of error. And this, number 3, this was done without the actual auto leveling. And as you can see, there is rough marks that you can see is pretty bad. But if I go to the rear and touch the plate, you can hardly feel any kind of roughing. And I did the auto leveling for D before I printed it. And even though you see the red visualizations, I mean, you're talking about in ranges that's from blue to red is from negative 1.5 to positive 2. So that's like 0.35 millimeters. So, I mean, there is like a room to play, and it's not like you're seeing a huge difference. And this was D. Now take a look at this surface. It came out pretty nice, I would say. It's the first surface. This was done without auto leveling. Again, this is because of the damage from Now, just looking at these two side by side, which do you think is the better surface? I'm going to give you about 5 seconds to think about it. Now I'm going to provide some sound. If I run my fingers this way, now after hearing the sound, which one did you choose? Which is the better surface? Is it the same as when you just took a look at the two surfaces? Let me know in the comments below which one you chose, and if hearing the sound made a difference. I'm going to give you my answer, but it's probably not what you think. The top surface is much nicer on D as opposed to C, which has these ridges right here. But if you turn it over, although you can still see the ridges here, when I run my fingers across right here, it's very smooth. It's very silky. You could hardly tell this surface from this surface right here when I go ahead and feel it. Which means even though it looks pretty bad, the bed, there's a thin layer that actually adhere to the bed itself. Now if you look at D, the top surface, although there are some imperfections, it looks much nicer than C. However, if I were to go right here, look at the back, actually not look at the back, you really can't tell by just looking at it through the camera because you really can't pick it up. But if I were to feel this back side right here, it's not as silky smooth. Right here I could feel that it's very smooth, but here I could feel like the ridges, the rippling, which means that remember how I use this example right here, where if this is the bed right here, the strands of filament is actually adhering to the filament itself and not the bed. That's what I can feel when I run my fingers across right here. See, right here is very rough, so I know it may have some trouble right here. And right here is very rough also. Let me see if I can get the sound so you can hear it. See right here, it's kind of rough as opposed to here. See right here, no matter how hard I press, the lines are going this way. So this is a perpendicular line. See right here, no matter how hard I press, you can tell the difference by just feel and hearing. But I don't know if it's gonna be picked up on camera. Now, would I pick C or would I pick D? The answer is there is no real good answer, but really I would choose B. That's my answer. No, that's not my answer. My answer is this. It really depends on what type of print you're doing. Remember when I showed you the visualizations on the bed? If you want, you can actually print your models wherever you find the flatter pieces of real estate. However, I would say that there are a couple of conditions. One is that it is a small build volume, or it has to have a smaller mass or weight, because if you think about it, the bed is at a level and it has springs. If it's big and massive or has a lot of weight to it or heft to it, the bed can quite possibly tilt when it gets to all the way to the top. Try to get it into the center as much as possible. Like this is a surface that I would use if I was printing a object that's not tall or has a small mass or has a large surface area, because on the back I know there are certain portions that are not going to stick as well. If you have a large surface area, quite possibly the other adhesion points may compensate for the deficiency of certain areas of the print. But again, it would not be for a build volume that's massive or tall. And the build gets taller and taller. There's going to be more time. It's going to be on the bed, more vibration, more movement, and more possibility that this print is going to dislodge from the bed. If the model is going to be on a low surface, this might be something that you might give a try. Now C, see, I can tell that it's completely bonded to the bottom of the bed. The only thing is the surface, the top, is rough. This is a little bit too rough, I think, but there is a possibility that based on changing the layer, this is going to come out as a good print. So if it's going to be like a tall build, you really don't need the bottom surface. You may actually even create a raft and then get rid of the bottom layer. You may have to adjust the initial settings a little bit, but yeah, this might work out okay, even though it is a little rough. You'll know that it'll work or won't work within a couple of layers, because once the ridging gets too high, what happens is that it's going to get in the way of the nozzle and bump the nozzle. There's no way you're going to be able to quite fix it. However, if it's like inside, it's really not going to affect your model or print. It's going to be hidden. But if you were to have like legs or like, you know, more than one placement, or it's going to go up from that area, so it's going to be a shell that comes out from that area, yeah, I probably would not go with this. This is going to make the shell look much worse. So that's kind of something to think about. With C, I know it has a good bond to the bed, and then within a couple layers I'm going to know whether this print is going to be a good or not. And then if it's bad, I'm going to junk it, right? I'm going to toss it out and start a new print. However, with option D, what's going to happen is you're not going to know that it's going to break or be dislodged from the bed. You're going to find out only after it's like almost complete, 80% complete, and then for some reason, at 80% of the build, it's going to pop off. Basically, you're going to have to print again at 80%. So you're wasting 80% of the filament, as opposed to if you took the one with the crappy surface, you kind of have a general idea, this is going to work or this is not going to work, and then you're going to remove only the bottom surface and then redo that and reprint that again. Now, of course, you want to hit the sweet spot where there's great adhesion to the bed, a great top surface. So the taller it gets, the better adhesion it better have. And if it's going to be just a low couple of layers, then of course you just want that good top layer surface. Leave a comment below on what you think and what you thought, and if you make the same choice that I made, just let me know in the comments below. And I'm gonna go over some of the Cura settings. For the initial layers, you should pay attention because even with the auto leveling, the inductive sensor, there's going to be a little margin of error. So it may not even be at initial layer height of 0.48. It may be lower or higher depending on how the initial sensor homed onto the build plate. The better way to get adhesion from the very first layer is to manually change the Z offset or slightly adjust the knobs on the bed while the printer is doing the initial layers. So if you had a initial layer of 4, then this value would actually make a difference because the subsequent layers after the first layer, that is the layer height of the layer 2, layer 3, layer 4. So in between 3 and 4, in between 2 and 3, in between 1 and 2, etc. You really want to keep your build plate temperature at the same degree that you're doing the initial and the regular temperature. Initial fan, you may want to actually decrease the percentage. You can't put it at 0. Remember I was saying the higher the temperature, the slower the plastics will solidify, and that will give you a better layer adhesion to the bottom of the bed. So that is why often you'll see people increase the temperature slightly a bit and turn off the fan. 20 millimeters per second for the initial speed is pretty good. The regular speed is 50 millimeters per second. But again, we reduce the speed to 20 millimeters per second. And this one, it doesn't really affect it too much because this is the speed when the printer is not squeezing out the plastic. And also you may want to increase this initial layer flow by 105%. And here's a 40 millimeter cube. The center of the bed is usually always the best place to have your print. However, if there is a bad deformation, you may actually move it to the side a little bit, like so. So move your model to where you have that good sweet spot. However, you do not really want to put it on the edge, too much on the edge, like this. You want to put it at the center as much as possible. Just move it if it's a small build volume. You know, and something like this, it would not adhere to the bed because it doesn't have a large surface area. So you can use something like a raft and give it more of a surface area. So, and again, this is the top layer of the raft. Like here, let me slice it so you can see. Preview. See, it gives you only 2 layers, 2 extra layers. See, this is the raft right here, right on the bottom. It gives you 2 extra layers for that extra surface adhesion if you need it. Something thin like this, it will not adhere to the bed without the raft, so you're gonna need it. Or you can also use the brim, but if you have a defect on the bottom, you can always use like a raft layer and kind of smooth everything out before it gets to your model. And let me give you just for example so you can see. You're not going to use a 20 layer raft for the top layer. That's not going to happen. Normally it's going to be maybe 2. If you have a deformation that you want to get of, maybe 3 or 4 layers, but you know, this is so you can see that what a raft is. And there are also settings for the raft. There you go. See, you can just increase the size. I'm just slicing this so you guys can get a visualization, you know, for your beginners. Again, if you have a model, something like this, that's using a bigger surface volume, you're not going to need the raft, you know? You're just going to need to print it as is, you know? Or you may actually do a little skirt on the side, so you can just prime it on the side and you can kind of get a visualization of what your first layer is going to be like. And here's a brim. The brim actually attaches the bottom layer to your model, and that's basically what it is. And again, you can just increase the width. See, that's the brim. The first layer is the brim right here. It goes across and it actually attaches to your first layer. So you do have options, you know. It's just being aware of your model and what it does. Sometimes actually the prints come out better if you just don't use the auto level. Or I wouldn't say don't use the auto level. What I'm saying is, yes, use the auto level, but know how to mechanically or physically level the bed. Because if you don't, that's something you should get familiar with. You know, the knobs with the springs for leveling the bed. It actually works better if you just make slight adjustments while the printer is printing the first layer. If you have a decent eye, you'll be able to tell by just looking at it and taking some time to see where your squish is at. They call it the squish, but where the if it's being squished or if it's not even making contact with the bed surface. So get yourself familiar with it. So I hope you guys got something out of this, and if you did find it helpful, just go ahead and press the like button and subscribe, and I appreciate you watching the video, and thanks. Here's like another one.